Okay, folks. So today we will complete our discussion on synchronization primitive, which is semaphore. So remember that we have covered many, but one was left out. So I thought, let me complete that. And then after maybe 2 classes or 1 class, I don't know, we will move into file systems. And when file system is over, that's kind of, and of course, we'll possibly get time to revise on memory, virtual memory. And we know we have covered almost everything in virtual memory, but we'll see the connection with OS. Okay, whole virtual memory is created by operating system, right? The whole translation mechanism, paging mechanism, and image of process being in memory and how we bring the pages in, all this we have discussed, but we'll again spend maybe one lecture and that's end of the course. Okay, maybe some, if time is left out, then we'll look also into some aspects of reliability, availability, some aspect of security as well, but depending on time that we have.
Sir, I have a question from last class. So
Yeah.
like in case of CFS, if any process doesn't get complete in first quantum, then quantum will get changed in its next execution. So like I want to ask that whether like the time can also increase or like it will decrease always for
So
the.
it's like this. Remember this basic rule, details you can find out. There are three activities mainly, right? First thing is that let's assume in the system right now there are 10 jobs, that processes which are active in ready queue. So 10 processes are active in ready queue. Okay. So time for, so a epoch or a time period is allocated for that. Okay, now all these processes may not be of same importance, so different processes will get different time slice based on something that is decided by either OS or by process. There's some, we call it an ICT factor or real time factor. Just remember that first. Okay, so different processes will get different time. This concept. So there are, and then we have decided the minimum amount of time, right? Each process will be executed. Okay, so there are 10 processes. Let's assume four. Minimum is 4 milliseconds. So overall, 40 millisecond is the period. Okay, and let's assume some process gets it means that there's a period. Some process will take less time, some will take more time based on their nicety factor or whatever. Okay, and let's assume that in between some more processes come in. Okay, now this minimum time that is given to the processes will not be honored, and in the epoch or in that time period, this whole thing will be completed. Okay, now number of processes have gone up now. So now what will happen is that in the next period will be number of process into minimum time. Okay, so this period in which different processes that are in kind of active mode will get some time and equivalent to minimum. And if suppose more process come in, again, the minimum time guarantee will not be honored. So there is a method. Okay, now let's assume that number of processes are less. Let's assume that is 10 processes overall 40 milliseconds allocated, work gets over. There's some process start doing IO, so they swept out and so on. Work gets over in 20 milliseconds. That's it. Then next phase starts and corresponding period is decided. Okay, so that's the understanding that I have. Okay, is it clear to you?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
And in this way, there is no starvation.
Yes.
Okay, everyone gets chance, however low it is. Okay, just remember this thing. There might be many details around it. What I have said is at very top level, gross level. Okay, abstract level. Not really going to details. So look at the details, and I've given you an assignment. So this is the latest one that we are using. There were earlier two, order 1 and order n. Please go through it, and then write down. In the process you will understand. All right. Okay,
Yes.
best is to read it from the book. Robert Love's book is very nice book. I mean, for understanding of Linux. Okay, all right. So let's start. Okay, so today we'll study semaphore. Again, we will not go into detail because we have already covered this topic of synchronization in fairly big detail, and we have seen some mechanisms. So it's nothing but a generalization of that. Okay, so and we will also look at basic definition of deadlock. All right, folks. So the reference for this is, of course, I've taken some content from this Berkeley presentation, and then is this Michael Dellin's book. Sorry, there is one, this OSTEP book, I think, that I forgot. Actually, you read it from OSTEP book. No need to read anything. So actually, most of the presentation here, even one that's in California, is based on this one. So you can read this. Okay, here it is. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So this all we have studied in the past, right? And we studied threads, processes, concurrent execution of threads and processes. And we have seen there are two issues. When we say concurrent execution, this is about communication, how one process can or one thread can communicate with other one. And second is how they can synchronize. Okay, so these are two things that we have seen. And for message, we have seen these methods for message passing. Then we have seen how shared memory happens. Synchronization, we have seen lock. And how locks are implemented using test and set and compare and swap, and note that these are atomic operation guaranteed by hardware. Okay, and then we have seen condition variables. Note in lock implementation there is a busy waiting kind of. These are large, mainly busy waiting. In the process, it means every time it's a process, for example, has acquired the lock and it's moved out, context switch, and another process brought in that's also wants to use lock, and the lock is already in the locked state. So the process which is brought into CPU will continuously wait, continuously check. Okay, it's like this, that you are expecting a letter to come by courier guy, and then you are at the gate all the time checking, and this is quite a wasteful exercise, right? So best is that you see that there is nobody at the gate, then go and sleep, and then when guy comes in, somebody will inform you, and then wake up and then get the letter. Similarly here happens in when we are not using busy waiting, using mutex ordinary locks, then we have conditional variables wherein we create queues where processes go and sleep. It means that they are not in the ready queue, and from this queue, one of the process is picked up and then it executes a critical section, right? So that's something that we are using in conditional variables. So here now we are today going to look at this all we have covered, and today we are going to look at the semaphore, the one here, very generic version of semaphore. It's at conceptual level. So this all we have covered. Okay, so now we are doing this and so on. That's all. There's the last that we are studying in synchronization. Okay, you can other methods available. You can study your own if you want. All right. So semaphore is also a synchronization primitive. Okay, is an abstraction which is slightly higher level than low level locks that we have studied, basic locks. And it was invented by great Dijkstra, okay, in 1968. So quite old method. Okay, do you remember this name Dijkstra? There's some other algorithm you have studied in algorithms?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, so he has come out with this method. So this is again a synchronization tool that does not use busy waiting. When, as I said with the example of you're waiting at the gate all the time for letter to come. Maybe letter will come after 2 hours or something, but you will wait. That's a wasteful time, right? So similarly, process need not to wait every time process is brought into CPU as part of context switch and waiting on log. It need not do this exercise, but they will put into a queue, and there's responsibility of somebody else to wake them up. Okay, so it means that it will not waste the CPU time. Okay, so fundamental principle is same as that we have studied earlier. The two or more processes we want to cooperate by means of simple signals. It means that a process goes to sleep, other process, so responsibility is to wake that process up using signal. Okay. So now since semaphore is higher level primitive, it can be generalized both as a log and conditional variables. Okay. All right. So now let's look into definition. So semaphore is an object with integer value. Okay. So when we are two processes want to communicate with each other, or maybe more than two, then first thing is that one semaphore is to be defined. That is a shared object between all of these, and it will be initialized to some value depending on the problem that is being solved. Okay, so and there are two operations on the semaphore. Semaphore will come here inside as a variable. Okay, is so two main operations are semaphore wait and semaphore post. Wait and post are the two. Okay. All right. So what should be when we say that is object with integer value? Okay. So it must be initialized. Okay. And this initialized value defines the behavior of the semaphore. Okay. So it must be initialized to some value. All right. So let's assume that we define S as a semaphore. And initial value is 1. Now we use this set of instructions to define a semaphore. Of course, you will include this, what do you call that file. So we say semaphore.h must be included in program when you write in C. Then you define semaphore S, which is of type SEMT. This type is defined in programming language. Okay, C programming language. Then you have this initialization instruction, which init, sem init. Then you define on what you are doing it on a semaphore whose name is S. Okay, so there can be many semaphores you can define for different purposes. So you have defined a variable S of type SEMT, and now you are all the process that want to synchronize will use this. Okay, so now you're initializing this to value 1 here. Okay, second parameter you just ignore is when it is 0, it means that there are threads which are trying to share between threads in a process. So there are different values, it has different meaning, but we'll not get into it. If you want, you can see man pages. All right, so just look at the third parameter, which is the semaphore value. And first one is the name of the which semaphore we are using. Okay, any question up to this point? Anyone? So what we have discussed so far, we have said only few things. We are defining a high level primitive that can be used as a log or conditional variable. Okay, and the processes or threads that want to synchronize must define, must use well-defined semaphore. Okay, so in the beginning there will be semaphore definition. Second thing, it will be initialized. Then of course different processes can use it. All right, that's all we have studied in the last 5 minutes. Okay, now let's go ahead. Now second operation is once we have done this, okay, we can use wait or post. Okay. Now, of course, there will be semaphore inside, and then okay, semaphore you will have to define inside. So it's one of the parameters. So when we say sem wait on a semaphore, okay, if its value is 1 or greater than 1, after initializing the process, it's initialized and process is using, it wants to enter critical section. So it will say sem wait. If the value is 1 or more, so this semaphore will immediately return. Okay, and then the process will enter the critical section. Okay, we'll define it few more operations here because the value is first decremented. We'll look at this later. Okay, if semaphore value was 0 or negative, okay, when you do wait and as a part of that check the value of semaphore and it turns out to be 0 or negative, then that process that is using this instruction goes to suspended mode. Okay, so it basically it goes into a wait queue. Okay, or we can say that it is put into the sleep and will woken up, okay, when somebody else, some other process does operation called sem post. So one of the process that we are sleeping will be woken up and then directly enter the critical section. Okay, sem post is just opposite, it increments the value of semaphore. Okay, okay, and if any thread is sleeping or waiting to be woken up, it is woken up. Okay, note that if multiple threads are waiting on the semaphore in the wait queue, then one of them is picked up. Okay, which one is picked up? That depends on OS policy. So one of them is, it could be first come first serve or whatever. One of them is picked up and then is given the lock, or basically it enters the critical section. Okay. So based on this, the negative value of semaphore, let's assume it's 3 minus 3 at a point, it means that 3 threads are waiting. They have done already wait operation. As a result of that wait operation, the value of semaphore reduces by 1, that we'll see now, and the value of semaphore has reduced. Okay, so now let's look at wait and post operation in terms of code. Okay, semaphore wait, okay, is we have to define here basically a semaphore variable s of this type, and we'll say decrement the value of semaphore by 1. First is that you decrement the value of s by 1. So initially, let's assume the s is equal to 1. Let's assume in case, then it will first reduce to 0 as operation. Okay, and then if the value of semaphore is negative, so if s is 1, it becomes 0. Now it's non-negative, so it will then, you know, it will just pass through, nothing will happen now. Okay, it will complete and now process can enter whatever it has acquired the lock in some sense. Post is that increment the value of semaphore by 1. Okay, and in the waiting queue, if the process, any thread or process is waiting, then wake one of them. Okay, so it's simple. Okay, so now let's take very simple example. Where are there? It's called binary semaphore. Okay, first define semaphore m of type semT. Okay, and then we have initialize it to some value of x. Okay, and then we have this instruction sem wait semaphore, and then critical section, and then at the end the thread actually execute this sem post, and value of semaphore increases by 1, so other can use it. So now what should be value of x now when we are using binary semaphore? It means that only one. thread can enter critical section?
1.
Yeah, should be 1, right? Okay. All right. So we'll look at one case, and then hopefully you will understand it. Else you read it from the OS step book. Okay, consider 2 threads. This is the simplest case. There are 2 threads, T1 and T2. Only T1 is using semaphore. The case is simple then, right? So semaphore value is initialized to 1, and then it will call sem wait on that semaphore. Okay, and then this sem wait returns immediately because value of is 1. So as a part of that, once you have seen the code here, when you use when you execute this, value of s is decremented by 1, and if it's non-negative, then just move it. Okay, so what happens here is that when this is executed, you can see the semaphore value has been decremented to 0. Okay, and it is not negative, so it simply returns. Okay, and return means that execution of instruction is over. Okay, and then it enters whatever critical section we define. Once it completes that, then it calls sem post. Okay, as execution of sem post, semaphore value increases by 1. So as we have seen in the code here, increment the value of semaphore by 1. Okay, and then that's all. Simple, right? So now any other thread, suppose this thread, although it's not using it, may want to use this. May want to use this semaphore, and the value is 1, then it can enter. All right. Okay. Sorry. It's all right. Okay. Now let's take another example. Explanation, of course, is given here, but read from the book for more details. Okay. Now both threads are using semaphore. Okay. So initial value is, note that there is one CPU on which these 2 threads can be scheduled. Okay. So sometimes thread 1 runs, sometimes thread 2 runs, and so on. Okay. And you will have to look at value of semaphore. Now semaphore is shared between these 2 threads, right? And second thing is, look at the state of 2 threads. Okay. So let's assume that first thread 0 is running, a value of semaphore is 1. Okay, and of course both of them want to use a critical section. Okay, and we know that critical section only 1 can be there, so we'll have to make sure that only 1 thread enters the critical section. Okay, so now in order to enter critical section, this thread will execute this sem wait. And note the state is still running, because only then it can execute this one. And since value of semaphore is 1, it will decrement the value of semaphore to 0. So now you see that semaphore has become 0, and it is non-negative, so it returns. It means that this execution of this is over. Now next instruction is executed, which is corresponding to critical section. So critical section just begins now. Okay, it has just, critical section may have number of instructions, so it has just begun, and then interrupt happens or context switch happens, and then the control goes to, or thread 1 is put into the CPU, because now we are assuming only 2 threads are running. So now note that state of this thread 1 becomes ready now. It's not running. Okay, and now as a part of context switch, this thread 1 comes to run state. Now it has CPU and all register values are there and so on, right? So now it wants to use a critical section, the same critical section which is being used by thread 0, and both are using same semaphore. So it will execute this sem wait as a part of SAM wait, execution of SAM wait, it will decrement the semaphore. Now semaphore value was 0. You note here that it was 0. And now semaphore value becomes -1 here, right? And then of course the semaphore value is negative, then thread is put into sleep. Note that when process is put into sleep, it is not in ready queue. So it will not be scheduled until it's woken up. Okay, it's not put back into ready queue. Note that it is into sleep is set. Nobody will wakes it up, it will ever sleep. Okay, all right. So what will happen now? It has put itself into sleep, which is of course done by OS. So that thread 1 is now into sleep state, and again context switch happens, and again we will have thread 0 comes into play. Now it will execute critical section, and now critical section ends here. Okay, note the running is in running state, and then it will call SAM post. Okay, all right. As a result of SAM post, when it is as we'll see that first instruction of that is increment semaphore. So increment, now semaphore becomes 0. Next thing is wake one of the threads. Now only thread here is T1, it will wake it up. Okay, so note that at this okay, wake T1 up and then execute this SAM post, which returns. Okay, and now interrupt happened, and see, note that here the moment this waking up process happened, the state of thread 1 becomes ready. All right, so now this process is when context switch happen, this process will start running, because this has been picked out of the waiting processes. Okay, and now it will note that now note that it has already decremented the value of semaphore. Okay, earlier, so there is no decrement, but it just enters the critical section. Okay, so now SAM wait returns, and it enters the critical section. Okay, and then when it calls SAM post, as a result of that, semaphore value becomes 1. Okay, are you able to understand this?
Yes, sir.
Anyone who has a problem?
Yes, sir. Sir,
Any
sir, if instead of 2 threads, we have 3 threads, so the minimum value of semaphore will be -2.
No.
And then,
Yeah, minimum value, of course.
yes, sir. So then one thread is running, it will call SAM post, so it will become -1. So, sir, there are two threads which are still remaining, and the value is -1, which is less than 0. So, sir, how this 2 thread will be scheduled then?
See, note what we have said about waking it up.
Yes, sir, but here is the condition, like if SAM is less than 0, then sleep.
So SAM is less than 0, then sleep. So essentially, that condition, that execution of semaphore, that execution of first wait, the first instruction is already executed, which is decrementing the value of semaphore by 1. That has already happened, so it's not going to decrement the value. Okay, and next thing is that see, let's say I'm talking about the thread which is to be picked up, and then now the same checking is not done again, whether value of semaphore is negative or not, because now the thread is picked up for execution.
Yes, sir.
Got it, no?
Yes, sir.
There's little trick here, right? Now, if you start thinking that the value of semaphore will again decrement, and then value is checked, then what you say is right, then whole logic will not work.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just think about it and go. Please read it from the book. A little tricky. little tricky. That's the reason. I mean, it took me also some time to understand it. Same doubts came to my mind, but when I worked out examples, it became clear. Okay, just go. That's the reason I say that please go through in detail in the book. You will get better perspective. Okay. Now we can use semaphore for anything, right? We can use semaphore for ordering events. Okay. For example, in producer consumer problem, thread may wait for a list to become non-empty. It means that initially a consumer may want to take some items, but if there is no item, then it has to wait. So it can be put into sleep. Okay, like producer consumer problem we have solved with conditional variable. Okay, and we can use it in many such situations, right? When, for example, even very simple thing, when one thread is waiting for child to complete first, okay, we can use this primitive to create that kind of wait operation. Okay. Okay, so for example, a child, parent process after forking can wait until child completes and child wakes the parent up. Then in that case, always, parent will go to sleep, and only when child finishes, that the last statement could be wake parent up. Okay, then it means that now it will ensure that child gets executed before parent, right? Rest of the parents, this thing, right? A statement after parent has called created child. Okay. So let's look at this way. Imagine a thread creates another thread and then waits for it to complete its execution. Wait for the second thread or its child thread to complete the execution. Okay. So let's look at the code. This is very simple. Okay. First define semaphore. Okay, and child, note that child is very simple. It takes an argument, okay, which is of course name of the semaphore. Okay, it prints child, and then it posts it basically uses post instruction. Sempost means that semaphore value is increased by 1, and then it signals for parent or whatever some other process to wake up, and that's all. That is done. Okay, while main is thread, which creates actually this child thread here. Okay, so this is a main program. So first we initialize semaphore to say value x. Okay, I will ask you what is the value of x once we complete this description. Then print parent begin. So it will print parent begin. All right, and then it will create a thread, child thread, right? So this is a normal process of defining p thread t, this child name of child process, and then p thread create that we have studied. Okay, c null, then the child. This is the code that we are going to use in child thread, and then is null. The parameters that are passed are null. Okay, so very simple. Okay, so as result of this code comes into execution in separate thread. Okay, and then this thread, say we call it the T1, and this is T2. So T1 then okay, now there are two threads at this point in time, T1 and T2. Okay, and scheduler can schedule any one of these. Okay, so let's assume that scheduler schedules this one T1, or it continues execution. Okay, so now it will execute sam wait into that semaphore. Now it will go into say sleep mode in wait queue. Okay, and when it gets woken up and scheduled again, then we'll print this parent end. Okay, Simple. So this is the process when T1 is continuous execution after it creates thread T2, and T2 is not scheduled. And then after some time it will wait, and then T2 is scheduled, and then it will post. When it posts, this thread gets woken up and execute further and completes. Okay, so let's look at so execution of program will always result into this one. Whatever thread, whether T1 is scheduled first or T2 is scheduled first, or both have done very fast. I mean, the context switching happens very fast. Result will be the same. This is what is result? Basically, we are printing this, right? Or we are, when we say print f child, so all this gets printed, because we have seen that here first thing that, because program starts execution from here, so this thing will get printed first, parent begin, so this will come here. Okay, and now note that parent end is always at the end. Okay, in between child has to finish, so control goes. So now here whether this program is in execution or the second one, which is thread 2 is in execution, or whatever be the sequence, this child thread has to complete first. So it will result is this one. Okay, what should be now for this one? Already answer is you have seen. What should be the value of semaphore here? What should the value of x for parent to block?
0.
Huh?
0, sir.
Yeah, 0. Very right. Okay, it cannot be 1 here, right? Otherwise, parent will enter the critical section and finish. Okay. Then if it's not scheduled, or basically if scheduler does not schedule child process, although it's created, it will finish. It means that now parent child process will never print this child. Okay, all right, it has to be 0. If it's 1, then child process sorry, if it is 1, then parent will not block. Okay, scheduled. Okay, so let's look at 2 cases. So parent has created child, but child has not run yet. It's still basically scheduler. Scheduler you cannot define what is to be scheduled next, right? We have seen the scheduler his own policy. Okay, so now a scheduler here does not schedule, although his child is ready, it is created, is ready to execute, but does not give chance it to execute. Okay, so it will be something like this. The initial value is 0, as we mentioned earlier. Okay, so it will create a child. This is a parent process, so it will create a child still in run state, and then it will call sem wait. Okay, when it calls sem wait, that it will decrement semaphore, it becomes -1. Okay, now it means that it cannot, this statement will not return, and this process will go into sleep mode. So parent process goes into sleep mode as part of execution of this. Okay, and now once it goes to sleep mode, control is basically now other process starts and another thread starts running. Okay, because whenever something goes into sleep mode, OS context switches to other process. Now, since there are only two threads. Okay, so child thread starts running. So now note that state is run. As part of this, it will post sem post, called sem post, right? If you see the code, it will call sem post. Okay, so it calls sem post. As a result of that, this semaphore is incremented. Okay, so now you can see semaphore value becomes 0. Okay, it will wake the parent up. Okay, and then sem post returns. All right, that's a simple thing. So now parents come into execution. So parent starts running. and same wait, when it executes same wait, this also returns. So it enters critical section, and then okay, so you can see it here. Okay, so same wait is executed, so it will control comes here, it will print, and then execution terminates, right? So it will basically print all these three. Any question on this one? Okay, is it clear? Shall we repeat it? Anyone? Hello?
It's clear, sir.
Clear.
Okay, all right. Okay. All right, let's look at another example. Now we know that scheduler does not listen to anybody, it has its own policy, right? Also, now child gets completion before parent even gets chance to call wait. Now here in the earlier case, we have seen that it executes wait and it goes into sleep mode, and then child runs, it completes, it posts as a posting. When it posts, actually it wakes the child parent up, and parent completes execution. So that's the flow there. Now the flow is different here. Here it means the control goes to child and child execute completely. Okay, and then a parent gets chance, right? Now note that parent is not sleeping here because it didn't get a chance to call wait. Okay, so it first parent creates child. Before even creating child, it will already execute the statement corresponding to this. So parent begin. Okay, as soon as it creates child, an interrupt happens and control goes to child process. Now child process, when child is created, then of course it comes to ready state. Okay, now as a part of this context switch or interrupt, child starts running now because now it's into CPU. Okay, and a child will, of course, if you look at the code, as soon as it's running, it will print child, this word child. Okay, and then it will further next instruction is SAM post. All right, so now it will execute SAM post. I'm sorry, here post, right? Okay, it means that now as a part of this, it will increment the semaphore, which now becomes 1. Okay, and there's nobody sleeping, so it will not wake up anybody. Okay, and then it returns. Okay, and now as part of context switch. Okay, so basically now as part of context switch or interrupt, the parent gets woken up, parent run. Okay, so now it executes SAM wait, and semaphore value is 1. It will decrement the semaphore, make it 0, and it's non-negative. It means that now it continues its execution. Okay, and then at the end it returns. So result will be this one. So we can see by use of semaphore, proper use of semaphore, we can create this simple synchronization that child run, parent runs in the beginning, then calls child, then parent calls SAM wait, it goes into sleep, and then child runs, it completes, and then parent gets chance, it completes, right? So result in any case, result is the one which we have discussed, right? The one here. And you can see that instead of 2 threads, you can increase it to number of threads. Okay, any number of threads, there will be minor changes in the program. Semaphore value, even if you increase the value of number of threads, initial semaphore value has to be 0. Now here the case is when two, if there are more, then you will have to see what exactly is the logic. Okay, all right, the logic may change. I mean, here we have considered the problem only with two threads. All right, any question? Okay, so now using this we can solve producer consumer problem. Okay, using semaphores. All the thing that you need to take care of is that you need to avoid deadlock. What is a deadlock in general? Deadlock is the situation where is one thread is waiting for some other thread to wake it up, and that never happens. Okay, all right, so improper use of semaphore may cause both consumer and producer to block. For example, consumer holds the mutex or semaphore and it's waiting for someone to signal, but producer could signal, but still it's waiting for the same mutex. It's a kind of circular wait. Okay, that situation can happen, so you'll have to take care that that situation never happens, and so your programming has to be proper. So how to solve this producer consumer problem, which we have studied in detail, and we solve this problem using conditional variable. We can easily do using mutex. Okay, please go through the code from this book. Okay, it's simple, very simple. You will be able to understand it. Okay, and next few minutes we'll go through very interesting problem, which is called dining philosopher problem. Okay, we'll only look at the problem statement, and the code is given in the book. Please go and then read it, and note that this problem does not exist in operating system. It's a theoretical computer science problem. Okay, as interesting problem, and it's very often used in interviews. Now, any interviewer, if he has done this course properly, will remember this word dining philosopher, and they will ask how dining philosopher's problem is solved. What is your dining philosopher problem and how it is solved? Okay, it was asked to me in one interview, and you will find that invariably when you go in the beginning, you know, to some smart companies like Google or something, they may ask you about it. Okay, so the problem is very simple. Assume that 5 philosophers are sitting around the table. Okay, around a round table. Okay, the 5 philosophers. Okay, so this is philosopher 1. So it will use it, and note that these philosophers can't eat by hand. They will use a pair of fork. Okay, and then there is a common set of forks. So there's fork, 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 3 fork, and then one philosopher 1, and this fork is how many? 4, and this is 5. Okay, all right. So so each philosopher basically has a single fork. Okay, how many forks will there? Just a minute. 5 forks, so somewhere. Okay, so 5 philosophers are using 5 forks. Now basically the 1 fork for each philosopher, but philosopher needs 2 forks to it. Okay, so situation could be that, for example, consider these 2 philosophers. This guy has picked up a fork here, and this guy has picked up fork there, and this guy is waiting for a second fork to be available, which is picked up by this. Okay, and this fork is picked up by this, and this fork is picked up by this. What will happen? All 5 will wait for fork to be available to start eating. This situation is called deadlock. Okay, so Just forget about this. Somewhere I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here there's okay. All right. There's only one fork in between. All right. Okay. So now think that because these are all philosophers, there is time when they can think and don't need any fork. And then there's, of course, there is a time when they eat, and of course they need both forks. And for that, both forks can be one on the left, other is on the right. Now the problems are there, they need to synchronize their operation, right? Okay, and there's a contention for fork. Okay, now how do you solve this problem? Anyone? Okay, read the details from the book. It's simple algorithm. Okay, you will of course need semaphore and something else to synchronize. Okay, so read this solution, right? So it will be something like this at the top level. While one, it is always execution, means that philosophers always do this. They do only two things: thinking and eating, thinking, eating, right? So they will repeat this loop forever. Think. Okay, so each note that in distributed computing problem, each philosopher has got to execute the same algorithm. Okay, and then it will get fork, then eat and put fork. Okay, now the question is that how do you write these two important ones, get fork and put fork. These are important, such that there's no deadlock. Okay, no philosopher starves, and concurrency high. The maximum number of philosophers eat at a time, at the same time. Okay, so you solve this problem using this using semaphore. This algorithm, okay, if you they ask you in interview, then you'll say that it's essentially problem of synchronization. Okay, and there are common resources which are forks. So there is a contention for that. So these two problems are solved using semaphores. Okay, now, okay, and please go through the solution from the book. We don't have time. Okay, and go through it, and in case somebody asks you a question, you can answer this, because they will possibly ask you to write pseudocode for this. All right, so just 2 minutes on deadlock, and the next class we'll spend time on in general about philosophy of deadlock. So we have already seen what deadlock is. Here in this case there was deadlock. When there is a deadlock, it means that one process or thread is waiting for somebody else to do something so that it can progress. For example, if this P0 completes eating and then releases, then P4 can acquire fork and progress. But here you note that P0 is again waiting for somebody to release a fork, and there is a circular wait. It means all are waiting for some event to happen and nothing will get moved. So the whole state of the system is in deadlock state. Okay, all right. So we can see this example from the PPT, Berkeley's PPT, and then we can see if we have a narrow bridge, and you can see only one car can pass through that in either direction. Okay, and this is real life situation. Many places you'll see in India that they are very narrow bridge, and then only one car can pass through it. If let's assume at certain point in time, car comes also from opposite direction, then there is a deadlock and all the traffic behind will be stuck. That's the reason either there is a policeman on both sides which coordinate with each other using some signal, or there is a traffic light which are synchronized, right? So the problem is here that each segment of the road can be viewed as resource, and car must own the segment under them, okay, and must acquire segment before moving on to. So now this part is fine, there's this number of vehicles. This part has to be owned only by one. Okay, here if there is a, it's owned by two, then there will be deadlock. Okay, all right. So now situation we have discussed in middle, two cars in opposite direction meet in the middle, so there's deadlock. Other situation is also starvation. If the traffic in this direction keeps going on forever, right? Let's assume there's heavy traffic, so it will keep going on. So this car of that's moving towards right will have right, then passes on right to next one, and so on. So these cars will on the right hand side will starve. So in comp or computer also this situation that certain processes will never get the resource because of wrong scheduling policy or non-use of synchronization primitive like semaphores or something else or locks. Okay. So definition is that deadlock is a cycle of waiting among set of threads where each thread waits for other threads in a cycle to take some action. Or it can happen due to many reasons, but in general in your computer if it happens, you can see that there is no progress. The program execution really becomes zero or very slow. Okay? So if that happens, then it could be because of various processes are in circular wait for certain resources to be released. Okay, to summarize what you discussed today, semaphore is very powerful, flexible mechanism. It is generalization of lock and conditional variable. And then we have studied in brief about deadlock. All right. Okay, thank you. Any question, then you can ask. Sorry, I've taken a little extra time. Okay, thank you then, bye.